Hey guys, what's up? It's Greg Strzavosty with the Find Your Film podcast. It's been a while. I am back. I always say this, I'm back, and then about a month or two rolls by, and I apologize for that. But now it's Friday morning. I'm sitting down. I'm in front of a mic, and I'm going to blather on about a couple things. But here, if you do not want to listen to all my blather and want to get to these interviews, I have the timestamps on the show notes. So you can actually go to the timestamps and just head on to the actual interviews. For this episode, I interview the Cut director Sean Ellis. The Cut stars Orlando Bloom, Katrina Balfe, John Turturro, a very good boxing movie with a twist. So you can go to that as well. The second set of interviews is Splitsville. It's a very quick interview, even I think less than 5 minutes, 4 minutes-ish. It was on a virtual press day with the Splitsville director, Angelo Covino, and his co-writer, Kyle Marvin. They are a writing team and they previously worked together on The Climb. They are also actors in Splitsville. So I will talk about that later in this episode as well. And you can actually, again, go to the timestamps for my interview with Splitsville filmmakers Angelo Covino and Kyle Marvin. Okay, so that's that. But I'm going to blather about a bunch of stuff in a few moments. All I'm going to say right now regarding where I plan to head with this Find Your Film podcast is, I'm sure a lot of you are inundated with a bunch of movie podcasts or TV podcast content every single week. And you have interviewers asking possibly the same questions. I mean, how many really intriguing questions can you ask? But I think one of the running themes for this podcast, when I ask actors and filmmakers and writers, I will really ask them about the process of writing or the process of acting or process of filmmaking. So if you are interested in the behind the scenes or the process work regarding any of these disciplines, please subscribe to this Find Your Film podcast. I will really hammer home a lot of this stuff. As I'm in my early 50s, I've never completed a feature film spec script. That's one of, I think, my many failings in life. So one of the running threads you'll get to hear, hopefully, and listen to is insights from filmmakers, actors, just artists talking about how they finished their script, what were the keys in completing their screenplay and the challenges thereof. Hopefully, if you are a screenwriter or wannabe writer, this podcast will give you some insights from these various artists that I interview along the way. So yeah, that's one of the main things I will be focusing on. Also, if you're a big film geek, I'm going to ask a lot of film geeky questions to these actors, filmmakers, and whatnot. I've been doing this for years. I haven't properly archived them for Find Your Film or Cinematics or any of that. And I'm going to use this podcast to hopefully archive and curate some of the Find Your Film moments, people talking about their favorite films, and then hopefully this could be a community, et cetera, et cetera. So that's something within this, I'm not saying new direction for these episodes, but more of a constant output. I'll be giving at least a weekly output for Find Your Film. So every week, like with the weekly cinematics podcast I do with Bruce Perky and Eric Holmes, you will have between cinematics and Find Your Film, hopefully you'll have a bunch of movies and a little bit of TV recommendations going into your weekend, as well as some insights about the process of filmmaking, acting, and writing. That's the goal for Find Your Film. And then Eric Holmes has his own sets of interviews over on the Cinematics podcast. So hopefully all this stuff is a big gumbo pot. That gumbo pot, or if you prefer jambalaya pot or Cajun meat-free pot, you're going to find a lot of that stuff on our Cinematics YouTube channel. Okay. Right now we're trying to get to 1,000 subs and we're going to get there. But hopefully, if you listen to this podcast, Find Your Film podcast or Cinematics, give us a like or subscribe to our Cinematics YouTube channel, because a couple of things. You're going to get a lot of our interview and podcast content there, okay, on that channel. And then right now, for example, Cinematics, we're monetized. There's a lot of ads that run on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all the audio platforms. But if you listen to Cinematics podcast on our YouTube channel, currently there is no ads for those audio podcasts. And I think eventually when the Cinematics YouTube channel gets monetized, I'm going to not monetize or run ads on those whatever audio podcasts we do over at Cinematics or Find Your Film. So hopefully that YouTube channel will be ad free for the audio streams for Cinematics and Find Your Film. So hopefully that's a good thing for you guys. And then last but not least, I'll be housing all of our movie recommendations or movie picks, favorite movies on that Cinematics YouTube channel, as well as filmmaking insights, a lot of just a grab bag of stuff on our Cinematics YouTube channel. Again, that will house our Find Your Film and Cinematics podcast, along with a bunch of other stuff. So please like, comment, share, subscribe, all those things. Trying to get to 1,000 subs and more of a community over at Cinematics. Lastly, before I get to these interviews, each week we do a Cinematics movie club, and it's a subset of our Cinematics Facebook group. And what we do is this, thanks to Mitch Burns for this, he helped organize the Cinematics movie club. We're about a month in. Every week, members of our movie club will pick a movie for our members to watch. As of this week, it's The Year of Living Dangerously, a movie that I still haven't watched, and I need to watch it possibly by the end of today. Members, movie club members, they will review it and they will give their review on a movie chat. That it's not nothing, we don't go live and we don't stream or any of that stuff. It's just a big movie chat for our Cinematics movie club, and it's just for people to be exposed to weekly. It's like a book club but movies, and it's been pretty fun. I wish I was able to actually watch all of these previous movies, or rewatch them. Our previous movie club picks included The Butcher Boy, Rudderless, and now The Year of Living Dangerously. I'm trying to remember what our first movie was. But anyways, this week is The Year of Living Dangerously. If you're a member of our movie club, each week I give away a digital code, movie digital code, or a physical media, like a Blu-ray or DVD, to our movie club members. So if you want any questions on how to join our Cinematics movie club, hit me up, okay, on my email or join our Cinematics Facebook group. All right, that's it for all the Cinematics and Find Your Film stuff. Let's get to the Cut interview with Sean Ellis. And very interesting filmmaker. His previous credits include Anthropoid, The Cursed, and Metro Manila. During the interview, I asked him about his preference for actually shooting on film, why he continues to shoot on film. And another thing is, I don't have my IMDb up right now, but I think at least most of his movies, he is the cinematographer as well as director of his films. So it's a very up close and personal viewpoint from Sean Ellis. And I think he definitely needed it for this movie, The Cut. It has Orlando Bloom playing a boxer in Ireland, former boxer. And he co-owns a boxing gym with his former trainer and life partner, and that's played by Katrina Balfe. He gets an offer. Both of them are they co-own the gym, and one can assume that it's hard for them to make ends meet. And he gets an offer to fight a YouTube boxer in Las Vegas. So they travel from Ireland to Las Vegas for him to fight and hopefully get a big payday. And that will help them for a long time. The catch is, this boxing movie, The Cut, is not a mano-y-mano Orlando Bloom in the ring looking all muscular and trying to fight his antagonist, his fellow pugilist, right? The main challenge of The Cut is Orlando Bloom has to make the cut. He weighs in at around, I think, in the 180-ish pounds, and he has to get down to 154. Ultimately, he has to lose 30 pounds within a period of 6 days. And the movie details what lengths he will go through to lose those 30 pounds. And most of the movie is shot in a Las Vegas hotel. It's actually not shot in Las Vegas. I should have written down in my notes where Sean Ellis doubled up a hotel to look like Las Vegas. And it's very interesting because The Cut is actually filmed within maybe just 3 or 4 rooms. Most of the movie is shot within 3 or 4 rooms. And when you look at the movie, it's interesting to see how Sean Ellis and his production team and how he shot certain angles to make this movie look not like a claustrophobic movie in the sense that it's just a very cheap indie budget movie, but to make The Cut look like a really good looking film. And he does that within the limited budget, which is 4 million. Just a $4 million budget. So this is an indie film, but it's a really crackling, whatever. It's just a very well done movie. Excellent performances from Orlando Bloom, Katrina Balfe, and John Turturro. John Turturro is just a madman. He plays the person, the quote unquote trainer who helps Orlando Bloom try to reach his goal of 154 pounds, I believe. And the John Turturro character does not care for the boxer. He just cares about getting him on time for the exact weight he has to clock into. Katrina Balfe it's very good as well. And I'll just say this, it's a lot of the moves. Part of the movie deals with the conflict between Katrina Balfe and Turturro's character because she cares about the boxer because they're together and she doesn't want him to get hurt. So she's only going to reach him. She's only going to help him so far because she thinks logically he can't make the weight. And yeah, he basically can't make the weight. I mean, how can you lose 30 pounds in 6 days? Turturro, on the other hand, he has no human investment in this boxer, and he's going to do whatever it takes, I don't even know he's going to do whatever it takes to get the boxer into that ring. It's a very interesting movie. If you're a fan of the boxing genre, you should definitely check it out. And yeah, I really love the twist about it's really a psychological drama thriller about what will it take to get to making quote unquote the cut. The cut also refers to a cut that the boxer had at the beginning, in his last fight. And because of that cut, he lost this big fight. And since then, he's been retired until, of course, this Las Vegas match. During the interview with Ellis, he talks about the advantages of him shooting on film. This goes back to the screenwriting thing. He gives a very detailed, interesting look on how he approached writing his movie, The Cursed, which, by the way, I highly recommend. It's a really interesting period drama with a little bit of monster situation going. It stars Boyd Holbrook, very layered film, that The Cursed. Hopefully it's streaming around. And yeah, eventually down the road, I'll talk more about that movie. But he talks about how he had to actually stop writing the movie at a certain sense, in a certain juncture, and then had to pick up writing again. But in between picking up these writing and finishing the screenplays or filling in scenes, he shot parts of the movie. So I'll have Ellis talk about just the details of filming and writing The Cursed as well. And it's a very interesting interview with Sean Ellis. So anyways, here's my talk with Sean Ellis. Hopefully you get some really interesting filmmaking insights. Oh, and also, if you're a fan of John Wick, he has a very interesting John Wick story. All right, guys, talk to you in a bit. I'm with Sean Ellis, director behind The Cut.
Nice to meet you, Greg.
So first off, I was looking at your past interviews and you said you've shot all of your films on film except one you shot on digital. So my question to you is, what's the movie you shot on digital and what was that experience like for you shooting on digital? And did that experience make you really want to continue most of your material on film?
Yeah, the film was Metro Manila and it was shot in the Philippines. And it was a film that I self-financed. And first of all, we didn't have any budget for film or film cameras. And secondly, we didn't have any labs in the Philippines. So it was going to be really difficult to get there. It was just a process that wasn't going to be possible. But the whole reason that I was able to finance the film was because at that time, Canon had brought out the 5D Mark II, and that there was also the 7D was out. And my background is in photography. And I'd already made 2 movies at that point, and it was very difficult for me to find finance on a movie because my last film was deemed as not being that successful. Here came this digital camera that actually put the power of photography back in my own hands and enabled me to use it to go and shoot a movie that I could finance myself. So that was what was interesting. And I think off the back of that, what I did was I wanted to shoot film again, but I wanted to still be in control of it because I think ultimately that camera being back in my hands formed a very nice way of working. And so I spent another 2, 3, 4 years just really learning about film cameras and everything technical to do with film cameras and film lenses, so that I could continue, from going from the 5D Mark II to, the next film was an Ariflex 416 Super 16. So I wanted to, film. I was very familiar with film because obviously I was a photographer, and there are things about filmmaking with film cameras that you need to know. So I spent a lot of time educating myself doing that.
Sean, after the massive critical acclaim Metro Manila received, I mean, you could have gone on and you said you spent several years researching more about film cameras and whatnot. You could have gone and probably from outside looking in, just go hop to another genre and make a film quicker. But it seems to me from the outside looking in, you are a very singular filmmaker and an artist. Can you talk about, you said you're a photographer first, but what about you as a writer and a creator? And you seem to eschew the process of like, I'm just going to make another movie. Each of your experiences seem like a singular experience. Am I off the base right now with that?
Oh, very much. I mean, making a film is extremely demanding, and it takes an enormous amount of time and energy, and you just got to be passionate about what you're doing. Otherwise, it can feel like you're working in a factory, if not. And after Metro, it's funny because I did get sent this script called John Wick, which was quite funny because I read it and I said to my agent, I was like, I don't get it. It's a guy that goes and kills people for like 2 hours because they killed his dog. I mean, I understand that. I did, coming off Metro, that was sort of very different to John Wick and very, about sacrifice and, about a family man who does a crime in order to save his family. And I don't know. I just said I wasn't sure that's what I was looking for to do next. So weirdly, I passed on it. But it's to my agent's like embarrassment now. She's always reminded me, you could have done John Wick. But anyway, that was, at that time I was especially looking for something that had some meaning to me personally. And I'd been researching this story, a World War II story called Anthropoid, for many years. So that was finally to become my next film. Yeah.
I don't know if you agree with me. I think one of the scary parts of the cut is there is someone, I'm not going to say who says it, that they're talking about the idea of failure. For some people, they don't even know the word. And I think the scary thing is when you're watching it, you're saying, what? This is so twisted, but it's so inspiring at this moment about not being failure. But can you just talk about, I guess, the multi-layered themes of the cut, because we know where it's going supposedly, but I mean, I see that a little bit of a weird inspiration behind just being determined in trying to get your goal, but there is obviously a cost to that.
Yeah. Listen, I think, it's a quiet movie, as dark and as twisted as it gets. I mean, ultimately, we all have dark and twisted journeys in our lives at some point or another. And we're all looking for the light, and we're all looking to, try and get above the thing that's dragging us down, which is often ourselves. And I find that this is a film about a guy thinks that getting something is going to fix his life. But what he realizes is that it's not what you want, it's what you need. And this sort of weird journey of discovery that he takes basically opens him up to realizing that he's a very damaged individual. And often with damaged individuals, the people that love them can't help them. The only people that can help them are them. And they've got to be the first person to say, I need help. I'm struggling. I can't do this. I can't function the way that I have been functioning. It's a broken system for me. And I'm gonna destroy myself and all the people that I love if I continue. So in that respect, I always try to stay true to that theme within Boxer's character, because ultimately I thought it was a film about his redemption to being able to ask for help from the ones that he loved.
So I've been reading reports. Was it over 50 pounds or 30 pounds? I'm thinking it's maybe 50 or 52 pounds. Just your feeling on that POV regarding working with Orlando and then I guess shooting in reverse. How does that, his sacrifice or his determination along with your determination, What was that relationship like on the movie? I feel like you guys must have felt really together on this project.
We did a lot of talking in the beginning of the movie, and I hung out with Orlando a little bit while we were prepping, and we had lots of conversations with, his dialogue coach and his dialect coach, and and with his trainer, and the weight that he was trying to achieve, he really was putting his body through it. It was quite amazing, and he turned up, and he was gaunt, and he looked ill, and he had no energy, and he'd have to sit on the floor and lie on the floor in between takes. I think he was really determined to give everything to this, and swing for the fences on it, which he did. And I think he just pulled out just an amazing performance, to be honest with you. People don't actually even realize it's him half the time. So.
Yeah. Sean, I have you only for 10 minutes, so just very quick final question. I really love The Cursed, and you're talking about you being a photographer, but I want to know about you as a writer. Just talk about the challenge of writing such a lived-in story and narrative as The Cursed, and what kind of advice do you give to people who are trying to finish that first script? And for someone like you, The Cursed is a very uncompromising story. What was the key for you to actually finishing that story?
Well, The Curse was a bit of a strange one because I wrote like a synopsis for it, and it was an idea about this village that was plagued by a wolf, or what they thought was a wolf. And I think I delivered about 45, 50 pages of it to the producers, and they called me and they said, "Oh, we love these 50 pages." And I said, "Okay, cool." And they were like, "You know what we should do? Why don't we just go and film these 50 pages? Because you want to shoot in France in the winter. And if we don't go, like, I think it was around November or December time. If we don't shoot that like this winter, then we're going to miss the winter. So why don't we shoot those 50 pages now? And then next winter, we'll come back and you would have finished the script, the rest of the 50 pages, and we'll do the other 50 pages next winter." And I thought, that's so weird because I've never been in that situation before where you've actually going to shoot 50 pages of a script that you haven't finished. I was like, okay, that's an interesting concept. Let's give that a go, because then we can look at what we've got. We can see where it's working, what the strengths are, and then write what we feel the film needs. And so, yeah, that particular case was very strange, and it was a bit odd because once we filmed and edited those first 50 pages, it wasn't without its problems, but it did enable us to go back and go, this is what's really working, this is what's not working. So the extra 50 pages that I wrote really played to what we had and the strength of what we had, and we managed to remove a lot of the weakness out of the script. So that really was writing a script by making the movie.
It's amazing. Sean, really love that film. Love the cut as well. Thank you so much for your time.
Cheers. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you. Okay, guys, finally, here is Splitsville. It's a very short interview with Angelo Covino and Kyle Marvin. Again, they're writing partners behind Splitsville. They wrote together and starred together in The Climb several years back. This one is bigger stakes than The Climb, okay, because you have bigger stars. You have Dakota Johnson, Adria Arjona, or Arjona. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. My bad on that. I should have watched some YouTube interviews with Adria. Anyways, Dakota Johnson, Adria Arjona, they're in the movie in Splitsville. Same with Kyle Marvin and Angelo Covino. And it centers on the relationship, the weird intermingling relationship of these two couples. One couple is Dakota Johnson and Angelo Covino. The other couple is Adria Arjona and Kyle Marvin. They're the second couple. And a lot of craziness ensues. It's a romantic comedy, but what, in my opinion, sets it apart from your average romantic comedy is both Covino and Marvin. They are influenced by, physical comedy, but physical comedy within not just straight up low budget, poor taste slapstick. No, they like physical comedy within the context of cinematic movement. And that's why I started off the interview asking them about their love for silent film star icon Buster Keaton. I mean, if you haven't seen The General, please see The General. It's a masterpiece. But Keaton, within the milieu of comedy, used a lot of physical comedy within really interesting cinematic set pieces to just propel his story. And that's what these filmmakers do with Splitsville. Whether or not you completely love Splitsville, which I really enjoyed this movie, for me, on a cinematic level, it's worth watching in theaters because there's a great, I think, 8 or 9 minute physical comedy fight between Angelo Covino and Marvin, and it's within Angelo Covino's character's house. They have a really interesting physical fight, but there's also really interesting cinematic seemingly one take movements and just a lot of flourishes in Splitsville, which makes it more than your average romantic comedy. So if you're looking for something different, but within an adult context, a romantic comedy context, Splitsville is worth it, especially if you're a fan of Dakota and Adria as well. They both have really interesting characters. All four of these are really good actors, and they get to show their respective talents in Splitsville. It's one of those things where down the road, if it's streaming, I will watch it. But even if I don't rewatch the whole movie, I will watch certain scenes from Splitsville because it's great going back to some of these physical set pieces that they set up. It's a really well done film. So again, I really enjoyed The Cut, really enjoyed Splitsville. Hopefully you guys get to check out one of these movies this weekend or down the road. If you do, please tell me what you think of The Cut and Splitsville. And of course, here's my interview with Splitsville filmmakers, director, actor Angelo Covino, and actor, co-writer Kyle Marvin. And again, Angelo Covino is also the co-writer for Splitsville. All right, guys, thanks again for supporting me over here at the Find Your Film podcast. See you guys in a few days. I have a lot of interviews coming up and whatnot, so hopefully I'll put it here on this podcast. Take care, guys. Bye. Guys, I'm Greg Srzawasti with Deepest Stream. Pleasure to meet you both.
Yeah, pleasure to meet you.
I am very embarrassed to say this, but late in my life, I've started watching the works of Buster Keaton. And he's a filmmaker who, I don't have to tell you this, but he's making comedies with a cinematic scale. Wondering for you guys as emerging writers and artists, was he just one of the luminaries that you guys were inspired by? Because when you look at your films, you can say, well, this is so funny, but I'm going to come back to it because they have so many great visual set pieces. Can you guys speak to that, I guess?
Yeah, I'm happy you asked that. I mean, it's sort of like a North Star for us. I think like Buster Keaton, obviously from the pure just like throwing his body on the line for it, is an inspiration for us. But certainly, Charlie Chaplin from a young age, I was obsessed with. And then I discovered Buster Keaton a little later. And really even Tati and Pierre Tex and like these, and I think what all four of those, and there's other filmmakers, but all four of those have in common is like there's a simplicity to the comedy and to the way in which they use physical comedy to juxtapose against emotion and character. And so like that has always been like a foundation of like when we're coming into writing a scene, we're like, okay, let's just strip it down to the simplicity. What ingredients do we need?
Yeah, and as far as writing the screenplays, a lot of people, they find it hard to actually write their first screenplay. Is that maybe a fear or challenge that you guys are both over? And if you guys are not over it or over it, what are the keys to actually finishing that story, as respective writers?
I mean, I think the key to being a good writer is just write a lot. I think it has more to do with the quantity of your work than anything else. And I think the way to get over that hurdle is just to keep writing. And a lot of times we'll write scenes and then trash the entire thing and come up with something better. But it takes that first scene for you to realize what you like or don't like, or to inspire you to write something else. And I think it has a lot to do with quantity over finesse the quality.
Yeah, it is hard to write your first screenplay.
Yes.
But it's not about your first screenplay. It's about your like 10th or 12th screenplay. So in a strange way, you have to just get past your first screenplay to get to the second, and then to the third, and then to the fourth. And then eventually you might write something good. At least that's, for me, was the case.
Same.
So Buster Keaton writing screenplays. Most importantly, what about a revisit to the beautiful works of The Fray? Can you guys speak to that and spotlighting their music? I was like, I wasn't thinking of these guys for years. Oh my gosh, they had some bangers.
Yeah, and they're on tour right now, so go get tickets and check them out. They're rocking. No, I'm a big Fray fan. Kyle's a big Fray fan. We just loved it, and when we wrote it in, it just felt very like of a moment and specific and distinct, and like it like defined those characters in a really fun way.
And we thought it was funny too, people really identify music with their relationships. It's like, it's a really common thing where people are like, oh, that's our song, you know what I mean? And we thought, how much fun is it if this was their song, if this was that moment for them?
So my final question for both of you is a very quick two-parter. First part is at the end of, as you guys know, as cinephiles, the end of Sullivan's Travels, you see all those people just laughing and the joy of comedy. I'm wondering, for you as filmmakers and writers, do you feel that as well? Or is that overthinking? It's all about the work. And the second part of it, can you guys, as writers and artists, just recommend a film for our community that inspires you as artists, that continues to inspire you guys as artists as well? And thanks for your time.
100%. So yeah, first question, like, I think the question was like, do we embrace the response to the film and the, right? Is that
Yeah, or do we think about the reaction to that film?
Yeah, I think it's twofold. As a director, you have to make the film for yourself first, and you have to make yourself laugh and yourself respond emotionally in that. And then it's about checking in to see if anyone else is operating in your mind, if anyone else is connecting with it as well. Because if you're just making it for yourself, it's boring. But if you're not going after what you think is like profound or unique or interesting, you'll just get lost chasing something. So like, I always think about like, will this make people laugh? But it always comes from a place of, will it make me laugh first, you know?
And recommend.
What do you got?
I was going to do Lena Wertmuller.
Say whatever.
I think Seven Beauties is a masterpiece.
I would say if of Lena Wertmuller movies, Seduction of Mimi.
See both of them.
I see the Seduction of Mimi, and then another Italian film, Seduced and Abandoned, maybe? Yeah. No, A Pizza Triangle.
Okay, very quickly, Pizza Triangle. Why is that a
Thank you so much. That's
Thank
it.
you guys.